Hi, everyone. I'm Karen MacNeil, author of the Wine Bible and editor of the digital newsletter Wine Speed. And this is People to Know, insider interviews with the most fascinating and important people in the wine business. And today we have the great pleasure of welcoming Lee Hudson, who's been growing premium grapes in the Carneros region of the Napa Valley for almost 30 years, I guess. And you know, if you're a Californian like me, you see these famous wines from Napa and Sonoma, many of them with the designation Hudson Vineyards on them. And those are Lee's very prestigious grapes. Lee was born in Houston, Texas, and received a BS in horticulture from the University of Arizona in 1975, before he went off to spend a couple of years with the uber famous Burgundian vintner Jacques Seysses of Domaine Dujac, and we'll ask him about that a little bit later. And then he returned to the United States, to the University of California at Davis, where he did graduate studies and got his degree in viticulture and enology. In 2008, Lee was also named Grower of the Year by the Napa Valley Grapegrowers Association. So Lee, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Karen. It's my pleasure.
Yep. And so I want to start, I mean, you have such a fascinating story, but I want to start by asking you if you remember your first glass of wine and who gave it to you.
Yeah, I can remember at the dinner table in the south of France when I was 4 years old. My first language was French, and my mother giving me water and wine. And so, as the French have always said, is more people have gotten sick from water than from wine. But my epiphanal moments, I suppose, that really made the most impact on me in the world of wine were times in Burgundy where, as you mentioned, Jacques at Domaine Dujac would offer me a glass or a bottle of wine, and they would be truly epiphanal moments. That transformation was demonstrated by many different experiences in the company of great winemakers and in the company of great friends and a fine bottle of wine.
I can only imagine Burgundy, you know, it's sort of the mothership, as it were. Well, it's so interesting to me that, you know, you grew up in a wealthy Texas oil family. You, when one hears that, you can imagine you going off to a kind of, I don't know, ritzy life of tuxedos and hanging out in Paris or something, but you become a grape grower and you decide to farm in Carneros. How did that happen?
As a young man, this agrarian dream was really something I sought after, and it was clear to me from a very early age that the outdoors and producing things with my hands and my own efforts were the most satisfying things in my life. And as I went through grade school, I planted gardens. I worked on Texas ranches, and those experiences really rang true to me. And so as I entered college, a degree in agriculture seemed pretty, just kind of an obvious destiny. I had the great support of my mother and father, who really were very intent on me following my own aspirations. And so it was one of those paths that you just develops as you proceed. Yeah.
Well, you know, it is, I mean, anyone who loves wine, when you listen to people who love wine, the gravitational pull of nature and the land is, it's not a passing fancy. It's a very deep emotional gravitational pull, isn't it?
Yeah, the transformation of any agricultural product into a finished good is a fascinating and intriguing effect. And wine is the most sacred of them. I mean, it's so sacred. It's the center of Christianity, and it is a metamorphosis that happens, that is man-made, that is highly cultured, has a tremendous history, and a great. There's both a practical and a very strong romantic attachment. But it's been the agricultural end of it has always been the most fascinating to me. The transformation in the winery, to me, is more like the scenes of the play, and the growing is the actual actor. That's the main character is the grape. So that's
But if I can interrupt you, I just want to point out to everyone who's listening that you didn't stop at grapes. In fact, there's a reason, I guess, that it's called Hudson Ranch, not Hudson Winery, because you also raise heritage lambs and pigs, you make your own honey, you make your own olive oil, you grow vegetables, and I should say that this is all with your business partner, who is your wife, Christina. But it's a very integrated, larger farm, isn't it?
Yeah, the Hudson Ranch started out as Hudson Vineyards in 1981, and my main interest and goal at the time was grape growing. Since in the last 25 years, and with the help of, as you mentioned, my wife Christina Salas-Porras Hudson, we've developed a variety of different businesses. Part of our interest in agriculture and in winemaking is really about the team play, and how we do these things not just as individuals, but as a business, as a series of incredibly dedicated people whose thousands of hours make the end product. And that really drove us to develop other ag products, such as our olive oil, our vinegar, our honey, our vegetables, and our grocery store in town, to maintain employment for our employees year-round. We have 58 employees. Without them, Christine and I wouldn't be able to do anything of what we do, nor would we be able to do it with the incredible expertise that the team has developed. And I think of my proudest and most significant effort in my life has been the development of that team. And there's literally hundreds of years of employment in those 58 people. And they're a remarkable component of our family and Hudson Ranch.
Yeah, well, beautifully said. Speaking of heritage, though, I want to ask you, Will, I know that you make several very famous Chardonnays, but you also grow a number of selections called heritage selections. In fact, a very large number of these heritage selections. What are heritage selections of Chardonnay, and why are you growing them? And presumably you believe it makes for better wine.
I listened to a speaker once tell me that they felt as if the mutations that grapes make in the fields that they grow in are relative to the location in which they're grown. And I'm not sure that that's true, but it seems to be true. I suspect there's some truth to it. Heritage selections would be, there are 1,800 to 2,000 different grape varieties in the world. They're all same genus species. The varieties have been developed by man over time, on purpose or by accident. They get planted in a vineyard and they mutate, and they create separate slightly phenologically different individuals. And when we go out into a vineyard, what we're looking for is specific characteristics that suit the variety. We've done this in Cabernet Franc, in Merlot, in Cabernet, less so in Cabernet, but Syrah. The four varieties that we spent the most time with are Syrah, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Chardonnay. So I'll go into just one of them. Let's just say Chardonnay, which we have probably the most individual selections. And there's variety, there's selection, there's clone. Clone is a group of individuals that originate from a single plant and a single mother. Selection would be more of a Massal selection, where you would go into a vineyard and you would take budwood and propagate it vegetatively from a variety of different plants. We have both in Chardonnay. We have Massal selections that come from individual vineyards that we go into. We like the look, the feel, the taste of the vineyard. It seems to suit our objectives, and we take multiple cuttings from that and then propagate those and turn it into a vineyard. The alternative to that is to go out and find an individual plant and reproduce it 25 or 30 times. Examine those individual plants, those 25 vines, over 3 to 5 years, and then make a decision to expand them into a vineyard. So today we have, I think, 19 different selections of Chardonnay. They are from 6 or 7 different vineyards in Northern California. Most of them have origins back to the kind of 2 original 1930s importations of Chardonnay, the Marasou vineyard and the Wente vineyard. Marasou being in southern, outside of Hollister, and Wente being in Livermore. We go into those vineyards, we select individual plants that we like, and we propagate them like that. It's one of the fascinating things about Vitis vinifera, about Chardonnay, about winemaking, about grape wine growing. And it's fascinated me, and not just me, but other viticulturalists and wine growers throughout the world. It's really part of our heritage, and I think it comes back to this sense of the holy grail of heritage, of what our history is, and it defines what our future is.
Yes, it's that's so beautiful.
Did I get that? I'm not sure if I did, but
yeah, no, that was awesome. Well, I've heard you say, staying on the Chardonnay theme for a minute, that when you evaluate a Chardonnay, if you closed your eyes, one of the, a great Chardonnay should, in a certain structural sense, remind you of a great red wine. Really? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, let me say that Chardonnay is a variety. I'm not sure that there are many other wines that are made in so many different styles of Chardonnay. And you have very crisp, non-malolactic, direct, kind of almost apple juice characters, very linear Chardonnays on one extreme. And then on the other end, you have very blousy, big, rich, mouth-filling Chardonnays. Our style of Chardonnay is malolactic sur-lie. In other words, it sits on its sediments, and we use batonnage, which is stirring, on all our Chardonnays. That technique, in addition to the selections that we've made, which are high acid, early maturing, and high in concentration with high skin to juice ratios, kind of lend themselves to start tasting like red wine, because they have high phenolics, which is the principal product in a red wine. Not the principal product, but one of the defining products within a red wine. So you get this width in malolactic, sur-lie aged Chardonnay that you don't get in certain other forms of Chardonnay. And that's where I would refer to a Chardonnay having this kind of red wine mouthfeel.
Yes, nicely said again. With is such a good word because, you know, I think that when we describe wine and we only use flavor terms, flavor doesn't capture wine enough. Wine it has volume, it has shape, it has velocity, it has all these other things beyond just, is it like cherries or lemons or pineapples? And I know a lot of winemakers who sort of see the picture of a wine vertically and its width and its length as much as they do ever think about, well, again, cherries or pineapples. Let me ask you, why is there no Pinot Noir in Hudson Ranch vineyard, in the vineyards of Hudson Ranch? I mean, if you worked at Domaine Dujac, that's like going, I don't know, to heaven to discuss religion with God. I mean,
yeah, that's a question I've been asked before, and I've asked myself that question. In 1981, we planted our first grapes here, and the grapes we planted were Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and we grew exclusively until 1989, exclusively Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and we were exclusively wine growers for others until 2004. During that period of 1981 to 2004, Carneros was and still is really driven in the Pinot Noir world by sparkling wine producers. And we're not sparkling wine producers, and sparkling wine, and really its base wine is designed to be relatively neutral. And we were making flavorful Pinot Noirs and selling them to Tony Soter and Etude all the way up until 2004. As a wine grower, we could never make Pinot Noir pay. The price per ton and the tons per acre didn't add up to production costs. And I have a problem with having a losing proposition. I don't need to be first, but I like to win. It just was not profitable for us as a wine grower. And still wine Pinot Noir really kind of left Carneros to the coast. We're on the coast as well. It's not to the coast, but to the Sonoma coast and to the Central Coast. Who left was our quality of our Pinot Noir is I think fantastic, world class, but we didn't have the wine producers who stayed here. And when you lose the producers, you lose the character of a variety. So we did not have the number of independent producers in Carneros. Paxton Hall used to be here in force, and they found themselves leaving for really the Sonoma coast and the Central Coast. Tony Soter went west, and I think it was because there weren't enough independent grape growers growing Pinot Noir who really cared about the variety. As you know, Pinot Noir is a very fickle variety and requires tremendous attention to detail. And so if you own it and you're producing it, that's one thing. As a wine grower, we were willing to do it, but I did not have a lot of contemporaries and peers also doing the same thing. And so Carneros kind of lost its reputation for growing great Pinot Noir. And we were producing incredible Syrah and incredible Merlot and incredible Cabernet Franc. And so those things added up. We can't hold on to legacies for the sake of legacies. It does break your heart when you give up something you love doing. I loved growing Pinot Noir, but it just made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, and a farm does have to earn money. And it is a labor intensive and a fiscally intensive business, to be sure. Why did you, Lee, decide to make wine yourselves? Because, of course, you continue to be extremely successful growers. But why? It's a whole different business, and it comes with other assorted businesses of needing to understand how to market and sell and all those things. Why take that all on?
I thought for many years I never would, but I started out in ag school, and even before that, of this whole sense of this cyclical nature of agriculture, of growing, producing, and selling a finished good was always that part of that agrarian dream. That, you know, the culture, the people, the place, those things. I came to a point where I recognized that I could no longer resist the completing this circle, and I'm so happy I did. We grow better grapes today because we are vested at the end product. We grow better grapes for others because we're better winemakers. It's really about being totally vested. And the sales part of it never really appealed to me. But as I got into the wine business, I recognized that I really love people. And I love people who love my wine. It's like people patting you on your back and saying you've got a beautiful baby. It was something I resisted, but in hindsight, probably resisted too long. It is the right thing to do. And it is, we are better at what we do today because of it. So yeah, simple as that.
Well, I can certainly attest to the fact that the Hudson Ranch Chardonnays and wines are deliciously compelling. So thank you everyone for listening. Our complete interview with Lee Hudson appears in the People to Know section of winespeed.com. We know you'll want to check it out. It is a fascinating interview. Thank you, Lee. And everyone, please don't miss this. Thank you.